So last class we discussed about GitHub, right? Committing codes to the GitHub, how to update the code, right? How to create a branch like that. So today we are going to discuss next topic in our elective module two, that is related to code pipeline. So before going to that, I just give you an introduction to DevOps. I already told you that DevOps means we have the thing is that DevOps are the tools which used to reduce the speed, increase the speed between the code committing and deployment. Right, once a developer create the code, right, then this code need to be deployed to a server. So this deployment is done by the operational users or operational the operations are carried by the different actually system engineers kind of positions. Okay, so those people are doing that is those people are doing creating the cloud environment, uploading the code to the cloud, right, creating the infrastructure that we need for running our application. That everything is done by the initial case. It is done by the operation team. Okay, so once the developers complete their code or complete their part, they push the code to the GitHub, right? Once it is pushed properly, or once it is merged to the master branch, right, then this code they notify the operation team. You have to deploy this code to the live environment. Okay, then operation team will select the code, do some text over the code, right, and then they deploy the code to the live environment. So once they deployed, what happens that there is some slight issues with the version issue. For example, if we are updated some code to PHP. So currently we are using PHP 7.2 version. Okay, but what we do that we change our PHP version to PHP 7.4 and committed the code again, right? So what the operation team have to do, operation team need to create the environment for PHP 7.4 now to run your code, right? So these things now it will take time to make you change the environment or to test the code there and compile the code there, right? In order to make it faster, we are coming with this DevOps tools. So in the current situation, the DevOps tools are doing these things. Okay, they are tools or they are software, and these softwares are responsible for deploying the code automatically once you commit the code directly to the GitHub. Okay, so we already discussed some features of DevOps using IBM Cloud, right? We already discussed about the continuous tool chain, right? It is one of the main feature of the DevOps. So instead of continuous tool chains, there are different technologies like Jenkins, Puppet, Chef. So there are different other tools also that is not part of our curriculum. I just mention it. So uh, so DevOps is generally, we can say that a set of practices intended to reduce the time between committing a change to a system and the change being placed in normal production. So we can reduce the time that I already explained, right? So once a developer or the developing team created the code, so there will be a time lag between time lag occurs while the code becomes the live. Okay, so the operation team need to check the code, create the environment, right? So those time lag can be reduced with the help of this DevOps tools. So there are a lot of DevOps tools. These all are the part of the DevOps tools. So we already use some of the DevOps tools like Git, right? We are using Git for for collaborating, right? So this same Git is used by the production team also. That is the operation team also to get the code, right? To get in the code to the environment. So nowadays the DevOps tool chain or DevOps system will handle all the things, right? So we just want to configure the needed tools. Then once it is configured perfectly, right, it will. So once you push your code to the master branch, okay, well, then it will automatically integrate the things to the cloud area or the live environment. Is that clear? So there are different tools, but we are not discussing all these tools, right? As part of curriculum, we are only discussing one tool called as continuous integration delivery. So we already up to this is clear, right? What I'm saying. Any questions? എന്തെങ്കിലും questions ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ചോദിക്കേ. No. So now we are currently we are taking Okay, so what we are doing is we are taking a code pipeline architecture, code pipeline service in AWS. Okay, so this service same as the tool continuous tool chain we are using IBM Cloud. Okay, so in IBM Cloud we create a continuous tool chain, right? But in IBM Cloud there is a lot of drawbacks because in IBM Cloud tool chain, what happens that when we create a tool chain, it creates a GitHub account inside the IBM Cloud itself. Okay, we have to configure some extra security measures in order to access that GitHub account, or we have to clone that GitHub account. Okay, that is, if we want to push some data to GitHub account in IBM's GitHub account, we have to set some other parameters in order to make it active because it is not directly connected to our personal GitHub. So once we create a tool chain under IBM Cloud, what happens is that a GitHub account is automatically created under the IBM session. Okay, so I will show you in what we can say. So in IBM Cloud, so this is my IBM Cloud. So under the resource list, there is one application like here. Okay, PHP. Okay, so this application is already integrated with continuous delivery pipeline. Okay, so that thing we already done, right? With Node.js application, we already integrate with continuous delivery pipeline, right? So saying this is a PHP application and it is integrated with this continuous delivery. So this is the tool chain. So you can see that a GitHub account is created here, right? The GitHub is created. So what happens that while we create a continuous tool chain in IBM Cloud, so they push a sample application. They create a GitHub account for our application, and they push a sample application to that GitHub account. Okay. So when we click this one, can see this is a GitHub account, right? So we can see a sample index.php file. So this is sample file. Okay. So this sample file is automatically pushed when we create an application. So when we create a continuous tool chain in IBM Cloud, there are so many things happens. One is they create a repository for your code to store, and under the GitHub of IBM. Okay, they create a repository and they store a sample code inside that repository. And based on that sample code, they are integrating with our front end application. They are integrating with the virtual machine. Okay, this sample code is deployed to the our corresponding virtual machine. So the virtual machine created, all the infrastructure is created by the IBM Cloud itself with the help of this continuous tool chain. Okay, but we can see that this is under the IBM Cloud. This PHP new project is under the IBM Cloud. We can't access directly. We can't clone directly. For cloning, we have to create some other parameter. We have to set some other parameters. Okay, so that is one of the drawback in, what I'm seeing in IBM Cloud. Okay, but in AWS we can easily integrate our GitHub and we can create a continuous tool chain in AWS with the help of CodePipeline. So I will show you how to create the continuous or pipeline or code pipeline in AWS. Okay. So this is our delivery pipeline. Okay, so under delivery pipeline we have two sections, right? One is code build section and another one is code deploy section. Okay, so I hope all of you are familiar with this because we already done some activities related to this IBM Cloud and continuous storage. Okay, so today's scope is not IBM's. Today's scope is we are dealing with AWS continuous delivery scenario. That is, we are using AWS CodePipeline service. Okay, so similar to IBM Cloud, IBM Cloud pipeline structure or IBM Cloud toolchain, AWS CodePipeline is also used to automatically synchronize your GitHub package, GitHub repository with the live environment. Okay, so when you push some code to a GitHub, it always syncs to your. So once, if you are adding some kind of test stage, right? Once all these tests are passed, it automatically sync to your or make this code live to your cloud environment. Okay, so that is code pipeline. Okay, so again, it's a continuous delivery service. We can use this service. We can we can automate the steps required to release your software. Okay, or once we automate it, we can see the log. So which of the things that then run behind your AWS code pipeline service. All things we can see inside our log files. So what today I'm going to show you, we already created a GitHub account, right? We already pushed some code to GitHub account, right? So I'm going to use that. I'm going to push that GitHub account code. I am going to connect our GitHub account code with the AWS code pipeline. Okay. So this service is not free actually. So this service is per month. They are at uh, they are for per month use they are using $1. The service cost is $1 per month. Okay, for using AWS code pipeline. So what we are doing, we are just create for demo purpose. We just create a pipeline, then we will delete after showing the demo. Okay, so we will not incur any cost. Okay. You understood what we are going to create. What we are going to do is we are going to connect the GitHub account. So we have already created a sample app under the GitHub account, right? We push a sample app to the GitHub account, right? So using that sample app, we are integrating the GitHub account with the AWS code pipeline. Okay, that is, with the help of this code pipeline, we are pushing the code inside our GitHub repo to the live environment, or the live environment set up by the AWS. Understood? മനസ്സിലായോ എന്താ ചെയ്യാൻ പോണെന്ന്? ഹലോ, എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ പറയോ? ഉറങ്ങാണോ? ഹലോ,
അല്ല ഉറങ്ങുന്നില്ല.
മൈക്കില്ല നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ആർക്കും സംസാരിക്കാൻ? ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യാൻ പോണത് എന്താ, ജസ്റ്റ് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഗിറ്റ്ഹബ് അക്കൗണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഓൾറെഡി ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് അല്ലേ. ഗിറ്റ്ഹബിലത്തെ ഡാറ്റ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് ഇന്റഗ്രേഷൻ, കണ്ടിന്യൂസ് ഡെലിവറി സർവീസ് ആയ AWSന്റെ കോഡ് പൈപ്പ്ലൈൻ സർവീസ് യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് AWSൽ നമ്മൾ ഹോസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോവാണ്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഫോർ ദാറ്റ് വി AWSൽ ഓൾറെഡി ഉള്ള സെർവറിലേക്ക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു EC2 ഇൻസ്റ്റൻസിലേക്ക് നമ്മൾ കണക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഹോസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോവാണ്. Okay, so again what we are going to do, we are going to connect our GitHub account by creating a code pipeline service instance in AWS, and with the help of this code pipeline, the application inside your GitHub account is automatically pushed to the infrastructure or is the instance you created in the AWS. Okay, AWS server. Is that clear?
സാർ, അപ്പൊ
പറഞ്ഞു.
നമ്മൾ ഓൾറെഡി ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ച ജിറ്റ്ഹബ് അക്കൗണ്ട് ഇല്ലേ, അതല്ലേ പുഷ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്? അല്ലാണ്ട് IBM ക്ലൗഡ് പോലെ ഇൻസൈഡ് അല്ലല്ലോ ചെയ്യുന്നത്.
Inside അല്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So we already create our GitHub account, right? So I just log in my GitHub. So under my GitHub we have a sample app here. This is a sample app. Okay, so under the sample app we have index.html page. Okay, or some pages out there. Okay, so we are going to push this application to the AWS server. For that I'm logging. It's the clear with the help of this code pipeline. So what happens that by using code pipeline, once you add any kind of code here, right, it will automatically trigger or integrate with the code pipeline. For that we have to create some webhooks. So that way I will discuss. I will tell those things later. Okay, once we're done, we can discuss that. Okay, so we are going to create. So this is our IBM. So this is our GitHub account. So I just click AWS. So I am already logged in our AWS management console. Okay. So first step is we have to create a EC2 instance, or we have to create a web application under this. So we have to create an environment initially. So we are pushing our data to that specific environment. Okay. First we have to set up the environment. So there are two ways we can set up. One is we can create a EC2 instance, that we already knew how to create a EC2 instance. But once we create a EC2 instance, that we have to use, we can use any kind of already existing images, that we already done, right? Or we have to create a blank Ubuntu operating system. Then we have to install the PHP or all the services we need, right? So what I am going to do now, I am going to introduce you another service called Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so Elastic Beanstalk is a service similar to Cloud Foundry. Okay, so Cloud Foundry, what is Cloud Foundry actually? Cloud Foundry is a platform as a service, right? So with the help of Cloud Foundry, we can easily able to host a sample application, right? So they create the environment automatically, right? So if you are selecting a PHP application, they create the environment for the environment in the server or in the EC2 instance for running, or in the virtual machine for running the PHP application. All the things required for running the PHP application is already set up that automatically with the help of this PaaS service, or with the help of Cloud Foundry service, right? So by using Cloud Foundry, we can able to create an instant PHP application. We can able to create a sample Node.js application, right? Same scenario, same concepts. Instead of Cloud Foundry in AWS, they are using Beanstalk, Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, you can search the service from the search bar. After logging, you can search directly Elastic Beanstalk. So this is Elastic Beanstalk. So I just click this in Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. So now Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service. Okay, it provides users or the developers to create an instant web application without setting up other virtual machine. Okay, we no need to bother about the virtual machine, or we no need to bother about the environment we need. Okay, by default, automatically once we create the application, this service will handle all the things. Okay, so I'll just click this Elastic Beanstalk. Like Cloud Foundry, what we have done, right? We are not creating any virtual machine or IBM Cloud, right? We are just create an application, right? Once we create application, like that Cloud Foundry will allow, we create on the back end, no, they are creating a virtual server or virtual machine, and instead that virtual machine, they install all the environment needed. That is, they are installing PHP, they will PHP kind of application, they will install PHP, Apache, MySQL, right? Everything that needed to run that specific PHP application. Okay. Similar manner here, we are using Elastic Beanstalk. So this is the Elastic Beanstalk dashboard. So here we can see that there is option for create an application. Okay, so just click this one, create application. So there are some updates done over here. So just click that. So you can see that similar to Cloud Foundry platform, right? Here we have to add a name. Okay, so I just provide some name here. So I'm just adding a sample app, sample PHP. I just add a sample PHP, name sample underscore PHP. If you want, you can add some application tag. So this is used for searching the application is here. Okay, there are multiple applications there. We can use tags for identifying our application. So I'm not using any tags here. So we have to choose the platform. Which platform? So I am going. So there I can see there is Go, Java, Docker. Docker means if you have a Docker image, right? We can upload that Docker image directly, or we can set that Docker image directly. Okay. So here I'm selecting the PHP. So then you can say that which kind of PHP version we need. PHP 8 is there, 7.4 is there. So I need a PHP 7.2 in Amazon Linux. So there is another option is there. we can, if you want, we can directly upload your code. By selecting this, you can directly upload your code. Okay, or here I'm just click the sample application, because I'm just creating a sample application. Our aim is, right, to create a instance virtual machine that can able to run PHP kind of application. Okay, so we are creating a virtual machine that can able to run this PHP application with the help of Elastic Bean service. Because once it is created, right, then what we are doing, that we are creating a code pipeline that will integrate our existing GitHub code with this virtual machine. So for that we have to create a virtual machine in our cloud environment. So that's why we are creating a virtual machine, or we are creating the environment for virtual machine. Environment means that the once virtual machine is blank machine, right, or any machine with any operating system, right. Environment means for any kind of application. For a PHP, we need to install PHP, we need to install Apache, we need to install MySQL, like that, right? So that is the environment for running application. So those application that is needed to run your code. Okay, so here I am pushing a sample application. So I'm selecting a sample application. So why we are doing this, we are going to create an application. Just add a name of your application, then which platform, selecting is PHP, version, everything, right? And I'm using a sample application. So what happens is that, like Cloud Foundry, a sample application is pushed automatically to the our created instance. A new instance is created here at backend, and that instance a sample application automatically push. Okay, so click this create application. So it will take time, or it will take 2 to 3 minutes time to set up the environment or your application. Okay, so it will create an environment for for your storing the data. It will create a storage. You can see Amazon S3 storage is created. So this storage is used for storing the data. Okay, all kind of data is stored under this S3 storage. Also, it will create a load balancer. It will create the auto scaling scenario. Everything is created automatically here. Okay, so load balancer is where, it will Elastic Beanstalk will provide option, able to auto scale your application. We no need to bother about the the infrastructure of application. Okay, this pass will handle everything. If your application will create if your application is accessing from different location, multiple location, and need more bandwidth, right, then it will this uh, machine or this service will automatically scale up your application, increase the RAM, increase the storage of the application accordingly what they need. Okay, so the developer or the user no need to bother about the infrastructure set by the virtual machine. So it is handled automatically by the this Elastic Beanstalk service. That is called as a PaaS service. Understood? So it will take some time. It is not fully started. You can see different setup is done behind the screen. Okay. So meanwhile, what I'm doing that I'm creating. Okay. So meanwhile, I just create another tab so we can create our code pipeline. So what? Meantime, it will take 2 to 3 minutes. It's not fully started. So I'm using next service. So what now we are going to create? We are going to create another service, code pipeline service, and using this service, we are going to integrate. No, this is a continuous delivery service, right? So we are integrating our GitHub account with this virtual machine instance created with the help of Elastic Bean, right? So we are connecting these two and we create a pipeline for this the connection, right? Like a uh, like a physical pipeline, right? Connecting two portion, right? We can use a pipeline, right? Say similar manner, right? We are connecting our GitHub source with the created EC2 instance using Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, for that we are creating a code pipeline. So just click code pipeline. So code pipeline is used for release software using continuous delivery. So just click this code pipeline. So we are going to create the code pipeline here by clicking this one. So meanwhile, let's check this. Create the one. So this is our sample app, and this is the URL. Just click this URL. Yeah, yes. Our sample app is currently live. Okay, this is the URL created by Beanstalk. Okay, so our app is currently active. Our sample app is currently active now. Uh, so it is same as Elastic Beanstalk service, same as Cloud Foundry. Okay, so you can relate. So you are familiar with Cloud Foundry service, right? So same, both are pass. Okay. So now we are going to. So up till you are clear, right? Any questions? Till we created a sample PHP application with the help of AWS Elastic Beanstalk service. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
ഒരാളുള്ളൂ ഇതാരപ്പോ എസ് പറഞ്ഞ
Yes, sir.
വെറുതെ രണ്ട്
Yes,
മൂന്ന്
sir.
എസ് പറയും
Yes, sir.
ഒരാളെന്നെ പല ശബ്ദം മാറ്റി പറയല്ലേ
രണ്ട് മൂന്ന് എസ് പറയാൻ മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ.
എന്താണ് അനുരാഗ് ഇങ്ങനെ okay so I just create a continuous delivery service here code pipeline service here just click create pipeline. So you have to enter a pipe name. Okay, you can use any name. So just sample or pipeline. So a service role is automatically created. Service role means the person who is in charge of handling this pipeline. Okay, so they create once you create a pipeline and the backend AWS create a role for that specific handling of pipeline. Okay, so what this role is related to that, we can able to create multiple user accounts in a single AWS account. Okay, multiple user. For example, for consider if a company has a AWS account, right? So that company is AWS account is used by different users. So there is a provision for creating multiple user accounts. Then we can assign the role. Each user account can able to do which task then can able to do. We can assign different roles for each user. So once that user login, right, that user can only able to do such roles that are we assigned by the admin. Okay, similar. So once in any kind of service created, right, there will be some kind of security roles is created behind the service. So we can easily map that specific service with a specific user account. For that, the role is used. Okay. Similar manner, there is a role is automatically created. Okay, so just click. So you no need to add anything. Just type the name of your pipeline. That's it. Okay. So click next. Then we have to choose the service provider. So here our service provider is GitHub, right? So we are connecting our GitHub source service provider. So service provider here in the sense we are dealing with the source, which is your source. Okay. So there will, we can use another AWS code commit is another service similar to GitHub. There is services. Yeah.
Sir, recorded ആണോ ഇത് വീഡിയോ? Recorded അല്ലേ വീഡിയോ?
Recorded ആണ്. അതെ. നിങ്ങൾ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കണില്ലല്ലേ?
സാർ ലിങ്ക് ഒന്ന് ഷെയർ ചെയ്യണം സാർ, കട്ടായി പോണ ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക്.
ഓക്കെ അതുവരെ ഇത് അയച്ചിരണേ ഏപ്രിലില്.
ഞാൻ ഇപ്പൊ പോയി എടുത്ത് ഇപ്പൊ അയച്ചുതരാം സാർ.
Okay, fine. So here we have so what we are using is we can use connect our source with the pipeline. So pipeline asking for which source you are going to connect. You want to connect GitHub account. You are to connect code commit. So code commit is AWS service similar to GitHub account. Okay, GitHub is generic service, right? Actually, GitHub is a service by Microsoft. Okay, so AWS Code Summit is another service. Okay, so we are using GitHub because we already have a GitHub account. So I'm using version 1. Okay, I don't know what's the difference between version 1 and version 2. So currently I'm using version 1. Okay. So just click the version 1. They're saying some version 1 is not account. Okay. Anyway. So next click connect to GitHub. Okay. You can there is option to connect to GitHub account. So just click connect to GitHub. So once we click, right, we already logged in. So I already logged in our GitHub account through the browser, right? So once we click, we just need to confirm. Okay, so it will ask the authentication, right? So when you authentify, so in my case I already connected previously my GitHub account, that's why I just need to confirm it. Okay, in your case, once you are initially connecting, right, it will ask auth functionality and click that one, right, it will automatically connect. Okay, there's no, you will get a link, so you have to and click that link to connect. Okay, then it will automatically integrate. So that happens only you logged in your browser by using your GitHub account. If you are not logged in, what happens that it will ask your login credentials. You have to enter your login credentials on the GitHub account, then it will connect to the GitHub. Okay, so here my GitHub is connected. You can see. Okay, now we can save the repository, which repository we want. So in my case, there are a lot of repositories out there, but I am using the sample, that sample repository that we push, right? Last class we push using sample repository. So I am using sample, and under sample I am using the master branch. There are two branches, master branch. So we have to select here the repository and the branch. So I'm using the sample repository here, and the branch is the master branch. Okay, so there are two ways we can dictate the chain, because if the source is modified, right, pipeline need to dictate the change. That source is modified, pipeline need to be understand that okay, source is changed, right? So we need to set up some kind of trigger functionality, right? When a code is changed, when a code is pushed to the master branch, right, a trigger function need to be called, and that trigger initiate this continuous tool chain or code pipeline service. Then the code pipeline service will automatically deploy the new change to the live environment. Okay, that will happen. Okay, so here if you are using a GitHub webhook, right, then we have to create a API inside your application. We have to create some API means simply we have to set up a controller, or we have to set up a link. Okay, and we have to call that link in our code. Okay, that is the webhook means. Okay, that is for webhook we have to set up in two manner. We have to enable the webhook in your GitHub account, and once you enable the webhook, right, uh, under that we have to add the application. That is what happens when trigger applied, right? So when we push the data, we have to push this information, we have to call this specific function in our, or we have to call this API. So something need to be done, some operation need to be done when we click or when we push some data to GitHub, right? That must be configured in your application. So what the things we need to do need to be configured in your parent application when you are using GitHub Webhooks. Okay. So if you are using AWS CodePipeline, what they are doing is that they periodically check the code. This is a reverse step, right? Here in this, what happens when a commit occurs or when push occurs in the GitHub account, it will call this continuous service, continuous pipeline in order to run that specific code, or in order to deploy that change to the live environment. Okay, but when you choose this AWS CodePipeline, what happens is this CodePipeline service will look into your GitHub account. Okay, and it will check any changes occur periodically. If any change occur in a GitHub account, or if any change, if you push or if you commit some data, right, then it will understand there is some change of this, and it will automatically update your live code accordingly. Okay, that is two way we can use. So here I'm not going for the webhooks and all, because now if you are going with webhooks, right, then we have to configure. It will be some more complex. We have to configure API. We have to configure webhooks in GitHub. Okay, so in our lab situation or lab environment or this our demo session, we no need to do that. So I'll just use this AWS CodePipeline. Okay, actually this practical is not part of your syllabus, but it is, there is a theory session is there. Okay, and AWS CodePipeline is part of your theory, so that's why I'm taking the practical also. Okay, so there is a theory syllabus. Under the theory session they are explaining this CodePipeline and everything. Okay, so here I'll just click this AWS CodePipeline. So but it will be very useful, right? If this continuous integration done right, it can be useful for you, right? No, we don't bother about the deploying the code to the live environment. We only need to push the code to the GitHub account. The rest things is handled by the code pipeline. Okay, so I'm here, I'm just using AWS code pipeline and click next. So next they are using build provider. So we are not building. We can, if you want, we can add a build state. Build state means code building, some kind of building. So if you are using an Android kind of application, right? Once we create the application, we need to build the application to produce APK. In case of Android, same in case of Java. If you're using a Java application, we can build Java application to produce a jar file. Okay, so if you're using any kind of build here, we are not using, because our application is, so the build things comes in case of desktop application and in case of mobile application. Okay, in case of web application there is no stage. We no need this build stage. Okay, so build stage comes only in desktop and mobile application. Okay, so here I'm just skip this build stage. And next they're using which is the which is your deploy provider, that is which is your destination. So we are now we already mentioned the source. From the source is our GitHub account, right? From the GitHub account, from the master plan, they have fed the code, right? Then where we have to deploy this code, so that is the deploy provider. So here we have to have different option, but we create the or we already created a web app, a PHP web app using AWS Beanstalk, Elastic Beanstalk, right? So I'm choosing this AWS Elastic Beanstalk here, and you can see this application name. We already created one application under the Beanstalk, right? So just click here. You can see our sample PHP application, and we can see the environment is also created. So that's sample PHP application. So we have to select our Elastic Beanstalk because this is our destination. We are going to deploy our existing code to the Elastic Beanstalk server or Elastic, or the instance created by the Elastic Beanstalk, right? Or the environment created by the Elastic. So we are going to deploy this code to this sample PHP application. Okay. So click next. So this is the overview. Okay. So we are not added any build stage. So this is I can just click this create pipeline. So pipeline is created here. So again it will take some time. Okay, fine. Now a pipeline is created. You can see a pipeline is created, but we didn't release the change. Okay, so there are two stages are there. One is fetching the data from GitHub. Okay, so it automatically fetched here. Okay, you can see this step is automatically completed. Now it is doing this deploy stage. So the thing is, what all the code inside your GitHub, which repository we map, right? I just map the sample repository with master branch, and the code inside that repository is push to the instance created by Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. So once the deploy also completed, we can see that what all code inside the sample is currently live in our server. So it will take some time. Save this progress. So once it's completed, you can see this tick mark here. Okay, deployment is completed. So this way. Okay, now you can see both are completed, right? Both source and deployment is completed. Then we can check with this reply. So this is our code, right? This is our URL. So I just click this URL. Yeah. So now we can see Anurag CK. So this is modified by Anurag yesterday, right? So what happened now? What things we are added in your sample application is automatically pushed to the instance created by the Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, we can see the output here. Anurag CK. This is the output inside the index of index.html page. Okay. So this is how this code pipeline works. Same, similar like continuous toolchain service. Okay. So is that clear, guys?
Yeah, somewhat clear.
Yes,
Somewhat
sir.
clear. Somewhat clear. ബാക്കി എവിടെ പോയി?
Sir, ഇത് free service അല്ലല്ലോ?
Free service അല്ല. It's not actually it is the code pipeline is not free service. They will charge $1 per month, and Elastic Beanstalk is a free service because they are creating an EC2 instance. Okay, the service is free, but the payment is done based on the instance created backend. So it is creating an EC2 instance in the backend. Okay, so based on the instance, if we are using initially they are using free tier instance, right? So free tier is free for 1 year, right? So after only the payment comes. Yeah. So that is AWS CodePipeline. And any questions? So there are two ways. I already told you that there are two ways we can push or we can trigger, right? So here we are using code pipeline, right? So under code pipeline, we have what happens that the code pipeline service of AWS will check your GitHub code, right? If there is any changes find in the GitHub account or GitHub code, or in that specific repository, it will automatically update accordingly, right? Other second method is webhooks, right? So in order to set the webhooks, you can go for GitHub. Under GitHub, you can see settings. So I'm telling about the webhooks, okay? Where you can see under settings, you can see webhooks here. Okay, so webhooks actually from the description is already given here, right? So it's allow external service to notify when certain event happen. Okay, so when certain event means any kind of event, when you push the data, okay, when you pull the data, okay, so which event we can mention the event. Okay, when you push the data to your master branch, then this hook will notify your external application. External application means it's not part of this GitHub. That's why it's called as external, right? So we have to notify our AWS code pipeline service, right, when anything happens. So in order for that, we have to create an API. Okay, so with the help of that API only, we are able to connect this GitHub webhook with the continuous pipeline service. Okay, so for that we have to create an API because these two are different applications, right? In order to communicate these two different applications, we have to create a APIs. So if you want to click this add webhooks, so they are asking the password. So when you click the add webhook, you can see that you have to enter a URL. So this URL is the URL for the API. So once we trigger an action, this URL will be called. Okay. So under this URL, we have to no, we have to do the functionality. That with the functionality is that we have to run this code pipeline service again, right? That is the things we have. So we have to create an API, and based on that API only, this AWS code pipeline will run. Okay. So this is the way we have to integrate with webhooks. So this is the actually good way, because otherwise it will it will only check, or no, it will only update application will only update once we push the data to the GitHub, right? Else, so if you are choosing the code pipeline service, no, code pipeline service will check your code daily, and if you find any changes, then so actually efficient manner is to create a webhook. But for creating webhook, we have to do some kind of coding. We have to create the API, and we have to connect the service with API. So some coding needed. Okay, so I just show you this is the way we're not doing with a webhook here. Okay, is that clear? So there are a lot of options with GitHub. Okay, just go through different options. You can get insights for this. Insight means which of the users, number of traffics are coming here, or the number of commits. We will get a different insight of our specific. Okay, so that's all in case of AWS code pipeline. Okay. So we studied two services here. One is AWS Elastic Bean service, and AWS Elastic Bean service is similar to Cloud Foundry service. Okay, it's a PaaS application, and with the help of this PaaS application, we can directly create any kind of environment under your instance. We no need to bother about creating virtual machine. We no need to bother about creating the application that is required for running our created code, right? So everything handled by our PaaS service. Okay, so one is Elastic Beanstalk, and other one is Code Pipeline. Again, this Code Pipeline is similar to the continuous delivery scenario, that is continuous tool chain in IBM Cloud. Both are same. Okay, but in IBM Cloud we cannot able to connect our personal GitHub account. Okay, in IBM Cloud they create the code inside our IBM GitHub account. Okay, specifically for IBM. So in order to access that GitHub account, we have to create some others. We have to set up some other parameters, security parameters, to get to clone that one, or to push data to that specific account. Any questions?